TOPSHOT Yes campaigners celebrate the official result of the Irish abortion referendum at Dublin Castle in Dublin on May 26, 2018, which showed a landslide decision in favour of repealing the constitutional ban on abortions. Ireland voted by a landslide to ditch its strict abortion laws in a landmark referendum hailed by Prime Minister Leo Varadkar on Saturday as a «quiet revolution», triggering scenes of jubilation in Dublin. Final results showed 66% of voters in what has been a traditionally staunchly Catholic country backed repealing the constitutional ban on terminations. Faith, AFP, Getty Images. It was an historic feminist victory over the rosary-clutching Irish patriarchy, a successful revolt of the young against the old, a triumph of Dublin's smart and forward-thinking secularists over the priest-ridden Catholic farmers of the countryside. Except it was no such thing. After a thumping 67% majority of Irish voters cast their ballots last Friday to repeal the country's constitutional ban on abortion, Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland quite properly offered congratulations from Ottawa, and Environment Minister Catherine McKenna exchanged high fives with Canada's ambassador to Ireland, Kevin Vickers. And fair enough, too, but Ireland has not suddenly joined the ranks of quite the same liberal, feminist universe where quite a few Canadians seem to think our own country shines like some sort of lodestar. In one key respect, the opposite is true. While Ireland's abortion ban was an outlier in the developed world, Canada is now the outlier. Pro-abortion protesters hold placards during a demonstration calling for abortion to be legalised in Northern Ireland, outside Belfast City Hall in Belfast on May 28, 2018. Faith, AFP, Getty Images. There are no statutory restrictions on abortion in Canada, and the consensus among Canada's political parties is that the issue is best left alone. In Ireland, the consensus is now that the issue cannot be simply left alone. Leading up to last weekend's referendum, opinion polls showed only one-third of Irish voters favour a Canadian-style legal regime. Unlike the case in Canada, abortion is regulated and restricted in various ways in all of the European Union's 27 countries. Ireland is simply becoming more European. The Eighth Amendment to the Irish Constitution had effectively outlawed abortion in the 26-county Irish Republic, prohibiting lawmakers from legislating on the subject and forcing Irish women, even in cases of rape, to travel to Britain for abortions. From Fianna Fáil on the right to Sinn Féin on the left, Ireland's mainstream political parties are now divided only marginally and only in the details of what sort of regulations and restrictions should be included in a post-referendum abortion law. Whatever the Catholic hierarchy had to say on the subject, as you might imagine, Ireland's Catholic bishops and priests urged the faithful to cast no votes. Roughly two-thirds of voters who profess to be committed Irish Catholics voted yes to repeal the Eighth Amendment. Paradoxically, with the possible exception of Poland, the most severe restrictions on access to abortion in all of Europe are now to be found in the six-county, Protestant-majority statelet of Northern Ireland. Members of the public hold no placards on Fairview Road as the country heads to polling stations on May 25, 2018 in Dublin, Ireland. Jeff J. Mitchell, Getty Images. It is quite true that older Irish people tended to vote against the tide. But Ireland is a young country. Only about 12% of population is over 65, and even in that demographic about 40% voted to repeal the abortion ban. Neither was the abortion ban merely a misogynistic holdover from the grim and dreary days of Eamon de Valera's stagnant, cold republic of the 1950s. Abortion had been outlawed in Ireland from the days of British rule in the 19th century, but the constitutional ban was implemented only in the 1980s, following a two-thirds vote in a referendum in 1983, and now, almost exactly two-thirds of Irish voters cast repeal ballots last Friday. the Irish have simply changed their minds, and it was not so much a throwing off of Catholic guilt that explains it, but rather the shame of the abortion ban itself appears to have most effectively motivated, yes, voters. The injustice of the ban became central to public debates. It will be a long time before Savita Halappanavar will be forgotten. In November 2012, Halappanavar died in an Irish hospital after giving birth to a stillborn baby. She had been denied an abortion, even though the doctors knew the birth would result in a miscarriage. The cruelty of the law's indifference to the suffering of Irish women was central to the referendum debates, and the Irish Times is quite right to editorialise that the referendum result is a victory that belongs to the women of Ireland. Ireland's Prime Minister Leo Varadkar gestures on his arrival, as campaigners wait for the official result of the Irish abortion referendum, at Dublin Castle in Dublin on May 26, 2018. Paul Faith, AFP, Getty Images. Even so, Irishmen voted more or less the same way women did. 65% voted to repeal, compared to 70% of women. While 77% of Dubliners voted to repeal, majorities were carried all across Ireland, even in the poor, rural counties in the provinces of Connacht and Munster. Only a single constituency in Donegal voted no, but that was a low turnout vote that still hovered only barely in the negative 52%. Ireland is changed, and changed utterly, but it has already been more than 2 decades since the Irish voted to repeal the country's ban on divorce. 3 years ago, Irish voters resoundingly approved same-sex marriage and yet another referendum. Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar, himself a gay Indo-Irishman, has pointed out that what happened last Friday is part of a quiet revolution, but it's a revolution that has been underway in Ireland for a quarter of a century already. Terry Glavin is an author and journalist.